Do not think of yourself as small all of your life. Hey everybody, Dr. Martin Williams here. I help people discover, develop, and deploy themselves into a world without losing themselves in this amazing world that's been created for us. There are these levels of economic life. There are levels of economic life. There's connection. Most people live in income in their jobs and daily activity. But those who are at the gate, they live in a different world. They're not thinking jobs, salaries, and those kind of things every day. They're thinking policy, ownership, strategy, governance. Why? Because these connections, they're directly connected to your teaching. They're directly connected to the life you live, your sovereignty. Can I say this to you? Now, write these down. Write these down. There are at least 4 levels of living. Those 4 levels of living are very important that you consider. You can live on that level of just connection, or you can start to live on the level where you're literally involved with the world around you. Policy, ownership, strategy, governance. Those are the levels that change everything. So, Martin, I'm asking myself, because I did, Martin, what do you need to become? What type of person do you need to become to be invited to the gate? What do you need to change about yourself? What do you need to implement? What do you need to study? Who do you need to ask or introduce about process? Because gates do not open to just your desire. Gates don't open just because you have a desire. Gates open because you have value. Gates open because you bring wisdom. Gates open because you bring some type of credibility. Gates open because you bring some awareness in your life of results. That's how gates open. Your value, your wisdom, your credibility, your results. So begin developing the version of yourself that build the person that you need to be invited to the gate, into these rooms, into these conversations, into these societies. Invite yourself. Get yourself invited because of who you become. Modern gates that we live in and we see today, these gates still exist. They just look different. Modern gates include corporate boardrooms, capital markets. It includes venture capital groups, public policy, where policies are being made, policy and government councils, investment syndicates. Strategic partnerships. Those are big words. Those are just in my notes because I had to study them. These are the places where decisions are made that shape your life and the lives around you. Even if you're just reading about them, it's better than not knowing about them. So the mistake that most people make, most people try to grow without proximity to power. And it's very difficult. You've got to get close to power in whatever your industry is. Be in the room. They may or may not know you, not important at the time. Get in the room, read the books, make the changes in your own life that gets you introduced to these opportunities, right? You got to want influence. You got to understand influence. In our kingdom, influence is a good thing. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice. So we need more righteous people who are in powers, who are in places of rulership and control and living at the level of management, not just survival. Without being near to the decisions that are being made, you're just living in the system. Closeness matters. As we would say, proximity matters. How close you are to the decision benefits you the most. Why? Because exposure creates opportunity. Exposure creates opportunity. And when you have an opportunity, that creates access, right? And when you get opportunity to access, that access creates your influence. So when you're thinking about how do you get there, you need to be exposed. Expose yourself that you want to learn. That's going to bring you opportunities. When you have those opportunities are going to create access into rooms. And when you have access into these cultures, that access will create influence. People will see you differently. So begin intentionally positioning yourself. Get in the room, get near decision makers, take them to lunch, buy their lunch, whatever you have to do, invest in their company. I don't know what that needs to look like. Get involved in conversations that matter. Even if you start by just listening, you become informed. Because positioning is going to follow your participation. You're going to get positioned because now you're participating in it. You're bringing water and coffee and getting to sit inside the room. You understand how these rooms work. This is why it's so important to you to understand the power of city gates and Commonwealth, right? This is where the idea of Commonwealth and the vision for my life started to connect. By producing leaders, by producing business owners. When you produce a leader, you're going to produce business owners, teachers, coaches, amazing mothers at home that are leading their communities, entrepreneurs, collaboration opportunities, resources. All of this will align. You're not just building programs, you're building gates. Gates. I love building gates for people to enter and have amazing conversations. Listen to me, and you make sure you hear me. Do not think of yourself as small all of your life. Do not think small about yourself the rest of your life. Understand that at being a kingdom citizen, you were born, raised, developed, called, anointed, whatever you want to call it, to be sitting at city gates. You need to be in the gates of the city, the gates of your family, the gates of your community, right? So what building, what gate am I called to enter? Because kingdom leaders don't just wait for access. They often create access for others. That is so good. And I really like appealing to people who may have a leadership bent in them. I understand that there are people to get into a room, but I love working with people who are going to build a room. I love helping people get around the table. I want to be at the table. I love that. But I'm most passionate about people who are called to build tables. If you're called to build a table where others can fit around, that's the magic in everything. That's the anointing. That's the calling. And I'm encouraging many of you to do that. Regardless if it fails or if it works, try it anywhere. Curate, build something that other people can come around. There are so many levels in which we can do this. Create access for other. The responsibility of the gate is so important, because with influence comes lots of responsibility, because whoever sits at the gate, those people are determining for other people's lives. In my case, those people sitting at the gate of buying automobiles, they controlled my life. They controlled how much I would pay. They controlled how much they would make. They controlled the interest that I would pay because they were managing their own financial company inside the car dealership. They controlled my whole life surrounding this car. What shape is the car in? Am I going to get a warranty? Will I be able to get my wife and my kids to school and back home and be able to go to church and do other things? Right? This was our first car that we were going to buy like this. It changed everything, but they were in control of it. I was just in it. I was just in the system. The system controls who gets access, who gets funded, what gets built in the city, what gets sustained. The gate shapes the future of an entire city. an entire city. And you better know it. It shapes the entire city. So here's some questions I want you to ask yourself. Where are the gates in my life? Where are the gates in my life? Where are the gates for my business and my employment opportunities and to build legacy and wealth? Where are the gates? Am I preparing for influence or just activity? I don't just want to prepare for activity, but I have to tell myself the truth. What relationships and skills do I need to develop to sit in a gate? I want to sit at the gate. So what do I need to develop in myself to be able to sit at a gate, especially in my field of knowledge and what I'm mostly concerned about in my community? Because if you want to influence your environment, you must actually eventually move from the crowd to the gate. Out there in the crowd, they protest, they scream loud, they share on social media, and they complain about what's happening. But in the gate, you get to help make the decisions on what happens, how it's introduced, and who it affects in the gate. So if you're sharp, if you care about the world you live in, we want you in the gate. Prepare yourself for places where decisions are being made. Develop your value, change your thinking. I mean, really expand how your mind works into other opportunities of thinking. Build your own personal credibility. Because when kingdom people occupy the gates, they don't just succeed personally. They shape cities, they shape systems, they shape opportunities that all of us can live in. That, my friend, is now what you're gonna do is you're gonna do like Boaz. You're gonna leave the field you're working in, where Ruth and the others are working, where you're producing amazing things, and you're gonna up yourself to the level where now you can go into the gates and create systems for people and give them a better life. Subscribe to this channel and go ahead and watch the next video.